Locked On Podcast Network and BetOnline present NFL Key Predictions. The local team experts of Locked On NFL give you the inside knowledge on the biggest games of the week and betting advice from the field's leading experts. You are Locked On NFL Key Predictions.
Hey everyone, and welcome into NFL Key Predictions. I'm Jordan Black. We have 5 games, 5 division battles, and 5 matchups that will determine playoff fates for 7 NFL teams. After an incredible season, it all comes down to 60 minutes of football with everything on the line. We kick things off in Florida, where the AFC South is a battleground. And in this arena, it'll be the Titans and Jaguars squaring off in a winner-take-all divisional title bout. It's also a tale of 2 teams who have different ends to their seasons. For the Titans, they seem to have lost their identity and have struggled to find wins down the stretch. A loss could mean moving on from veteran signal caller Ryan Tannehill and beginning the rebuild in Tennessee. On the other side, with every passing week, Doug Peterson found ways to bring out the expected best in Trevor Lawrence and has Jacksonville looking to kick off a new era of success. Tyler Rowland from Locked On Titans and Tony Wiggins from Locked On Jags break down this AFC South matchup for us.
Early this year, my key to victory for the Jaguars is the same every week. Get off to a fast start, let your defense play pass rush and coverage, and chase the quarterback, but make sure you don't get behind. That was absolutely blown out of the water. Every time they got behind, they came back and won the game over the last couple of months. So my little formula for them winning turned out to be generic, nothing to do about nothing, right? They went against the grain and started winning the game. They were behind 17-0 to the Raiders. They were down 27-10 to the Cowboys. They were down to against the Ravens. They came back and won every single one of those games. So the key for the Jaguars right now is to just never quit. Don't quit. Just no matter what happens in the first and second quarter, just keep doing what you've been doing all year and understand that the game is not over. And I think if they do that, they'll be fine.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. I think, especially with the Titans having Josh Dobbs at quarterback, that it's not like the Titans are going to hammer down if they even get, let's say the Titans come out and go up 10-0. That's not an insurmountable lead in any way with the way that the Titans are playing football right now. We can't gloss over, and this is why I was kind of upset that Mike Vrabel punted on that game against Dallas. Losing football games doesn't help you win football games. Like, the Titans have lost 6 games in a row. It's tied for the second longest losing streak in franchise history. None of that will inspire confidence in your players to go out and beat a Jacksonville team who I've said has been playing playoff football for 2 months now. Their hair is on fire. They're ready to go. So prediction-wise, it was a great segue you did from going into talking about Peter to into the prediction segment, because I agree, Tony. I think ultimately you are going to get the spot on Sunday night with Peter because the Jags are a better team. They're playing better football, and the Titans are starting Josh Dobbs. I just don't know what else to say. I think that all the stuff that we talked about, Derrick Henry being out there, the pass rush for the Titans, I think the game's going to be closer than Jaguars fans want, but it's not going to be easy for the Jags to slay the dragon. You know what I mean? They're going to make Jacksonville work for it. I think this game finishes 27-20. Jacksonville wins. I think late in the fourth quarter, the Titans are going to have the ball with an opportunity to go down and score. And there's going to be a turnover that seals it for Jacksonville, and the celebration begins. So I think 27-20. I think the Titans, despite all the injuries and despite Josh Dobbs and all that and being on the road, I think the Titans will represent themselves properly. A Mike Vrabel football team is going to go out there and fight. I do believe that. But again, playing better football for 2 months, the better team anyways. I think Jacksonville not only will win this game, I think Jacksonville deserves it. And quite frankly, as a fan of football, do I want to see Josh Dobbs against Justin Herbert? No. Everybody who really loves football at their core, I always say this on my show, I loved football before I ever knew about the Tennessee Titans. And to this day, my allegiance will always be to football at the core of me. And I want to see Trevor Lawrence against Justin Herbert in the first round of the playoffs. I think if Jacksonville wins this game, they beat the Chargers as well and get to dance with the big boys, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, and Pat Mahomes. And I think not only do I think that will happen, I do think Jacksonville deserves it. I know Titans fans are probably mad right now. They want me to always, no matter what, protect the Titans. But at this point, the Titans haven't played the kind of football that deserves those type of things. And if I'm honest with you, I think the Titans need a top 10 pick more than they need an AFC South division title right now so they can fix that offensive line for whoever plays quarterback next year. So 27-20, Jaguars advance. That's what my prediction is.
Well, let's cut to the chase. The Jets blew it. Zach Wilson regressed to the point of being benched, and the fan base was left to rally behind a journeyman backup in Mike White. Whatever comes next for this franchise, it won't involve the playoffs. For Miami, it will be a win plus a Patriots loss that gets them across the playoff line. But as with many teams this season, the loss of their starting quarterback puts the playoff prospects in a cloud of what could have been in Mike McDaniel's first year at the helm. John Butchko from Locked On Jets and Kyle Krabs from Locked On Dolphins preview the AFC East matchup.
John, I will defer to you as the road team for the coin toss. Would you like to go first or second with your prediction here as we get ready to cross over Thursday?
I will receive and go first.
I want the ball and I'm going to score.
Yes. I look at this game and, up against Skylar Thompson again, another backup quarterback for the Jets, Dolphins banged up secondary, Garrett Wilson going up against it. I look at this and I hate to say this with the Jets because, with the Jets, you can never be too confident. I look at this and I say, this is probably a game the Jets should win. But the problem is I have zero faith in this team right now. And I know the Dolphins have been playing badly, but last week the Jets went out to Seattle and got blown out by a team that was playing worse than them heading into that game. So even though I look at the matchups and I see a lot of things that I like for the Jets, I just can't pick them. And a lot of this is going to come down to motivation. I think sometimes we can overstate it because these guys are always playing hard. You always hear the end of the season the team that's struggling. Well, say this about them: they're still playing hard. Well, what would you expect? These guys still are putting film on their resume for their next team. So you expect players to play hard. But I think when you get to the last game of the season, sometimes there's a little bit of a tendency to look forward to the off season. And I wonder where the motivation will be. I wonder just what the Jets' mindset is heading into this game after being eliminated, playing so poorly. I can't imagine the confidence level is very high. So I know even though the Dolphins are also playing really badly, I just have a bad feeling about this one for the Jets. I think, it could be a pretty low-scoring game. I'm going to go Dolphins 17, Jets 13.
Yeah, I think that is the big divider for me. Is Miami playing for their playoff lives? They've been close. They've had the opportunity. I mean, you look at these games, 49ers, they're driving with a chance in the fourth quarter to take the lead with about 5 minutes left. They turned the ball over on downs on a ball that was called a completed catch that was turned over. The Chargers, dumpster fire of a game, but at the end, you still was a one-score loss. Buffalo kicked a game-winning field goal to break a tie on the last play of possession. Green Bay, you led. You gave up 16 unanswered points, but you had the ball and a chance to go down and win in the fourth quarter. And then the Patriots, you ended up losing 23-21 and threw a pick six to give the Patriots 7 points. They've been close. Is this the week? You're at home. You obviously got 40 points hung on you by this Jets team the last time you played them. The Dolphins should not take this team lightly with them being on a 5-game losing streak. This is the game for me that Mike McDaniel, go ahead and show your offensive genius. You got a third-string quarterback. I'm looking at what the San Francisco 49ers are doing with Brock Purdy as a 7th-round pick, and they haven't lost since they played the Dolphins. So with the playoffs on the line and that motivating factor, the Jets now another road game. I think there's enough here for me to fall in line with you. But like you said, John, my confidence level that the Dolphins are going to show up and actually take care of business is an absolute zero because they have found ways to lose every single game. And I just went through all 5 games. They were all winnable games, and they found ways to lose them all. So that for me is the big mystery. I will put the homer hat here on to end the season and say that the Dolphins win a 17-16 absolute nail biter, but the confidence points on this one are low. that the Dolphins will ultimately take care of business.
Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there. From pro football and college bowl season to basketball and soccer, we've got it all at betonline.net. If you love sports podcasts, you can even find those at BetOnline as well. So head over to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts.
What's up?
Oh, I'm just compiling all the top sports scores, news, and odds so I can make the very best picks.
Me too. BetOnline.net.
Get into the action anytime, anywhere at betonline.net.
The Bills will have far more than football on their minds this weekend, as Buffalo will be keeping Damar Hamlin in their thoughts and prayers following that scary and emotional moment last week. The playoff picture at the top of the AFC will be complicated for the NFL to finalize, but this is an example when the lines of sports and life become blurred and everyone takes a moment to remember those most important to them and what really matters. For the Patriots, on top of the emotional brotherhood they share with those across the field, New England will also be playing to make the AFC wildcard on a win and in scenario. Mike Diabate from Locked On Patriots joins Joe Marino from Locked On Bills to preview this AFC bout for us.
We got to do a prediction. And we talked about at the beginning of this podcast, expectations of what level of performance you're going to get from the Bills is challenging to predict. So I wanted to put that blanket statement out there as we do our best right now to predict the outcome on Sunday afternoon. I'll allow you to go first, my friend.
Okay, well, thank you, my friend, and thank you for the kind words. I do appreciate that. It's my honor. It's always my honor to join you here on these crossovers. And again, wish it was under slightly different circumstances. I think we all do, but we always try to make the most of these whenever we can. So once again, thank you for that. In terms of this game and how it unfolds, I think that this is going to be a close game regardless of the circumstances. I think Buffalo is going to be highly emotional. I think that could work to their advantage. Again, we talked about the possibility of that going the opposite way, but this is a resilient team. This is a battle-tested team that has been through an awful lot, and the resolve that they've shown to me has to count for something here. We can talk about all the X's, all the O's, all the crossing all the T's, dotting all the I's, but at the same time, there has to be a heart and soul to a championship caliber football team. You see that in the Buffalo Bills. That being said, the New England Patriots are a prideful team as well. And I know they're going to come in here with come into Orchard Park with every intention of trying to take it to the Bills, get the victory, and earn a playoff spot. They're essentially playing for their playoff future. So based on that, again, I look for Mac Jones to try to utilize the short areas of the field, but he's going to need some reliable targets downfield as well to spread the wealth around. You can't lock in on Jacoby Myers the way he's been doing. You can't necessarily lock in on Hunter Henry in the seam routes, even though I was very vocal about that in the previous segment. Someone has to emerge, and I think that person could be Tyquan Thornton. On the defensive side of the ball, the Patriots have to force turnovers. They've been excellent at doing so. They've been excellent at scoring points off of turnovers. So because of that, that's something that if I'm a Bills fan, I'm looking at. Are the Patriots getting after? Are they forcing fumbles? Are they intercepting? Obviously, everybody's going to know if they run back another interception for a touchdown. But at the same time, that's the key to New England's That's the catalyst for New England, and that's the key to them earning a victory is can they force turnovers on the opponent's offensive side of the ball by utilizing their defense, which has a notion for that. If they can do it, the Patriots have a punter's chance in this one. There's no question about it. But if they struggle on both sides the way we saw them struggle in the previous matchup, then you're probably going to see a similar result as we saw back in early December. So that's my game prediction. I think that the New England Patriots definitely have a puncher's chance in this one, but resolve says if this game's played on paper the way it should be, then the Bills come out with a victory. But do not count that team out in Foxborough. They're playing for a lot as well.
Yeah, they certainly are. The Bills obviously have locked up some things, the division, of course, and we don't know what the league is going to do about the Bengals game, if it's going to be resumed at some point. And obviously there's implications, right, on the 1 seed in the AFC playoffs. And so we'll learn a lot about what the intentions are there soon enough. But the bottom line is there's still a lot to play for this Buffalo Bills football team. And I think a lot about the culture and the foundation that's been established in Buffalo since Sean McDermott and Brandon Beane took over this operation in 2017. And there's been a lot of intentionality about the people that they brought into the organization and to be able to respond when there's adversity. And again, I have no idea what to expect from this Bills football team, but I'm inclined to believe to some degree that it will be a rallying opportunity, and that the best way that they can honor DeMar Hamlin is to go out and play at a high level and try to do their best to focus and win a football game. And football is important to these guys, right? They know what they want to get done this year. We know what the expectations have been, and it's hard to go down this route, Mike. It's hard to even talk about it, but you'd like to think that they believe that everything is still right there in front of them, right? And they can go out and put their best foot forward. I don't know if they can. I have no idea, but I'm going to lean into that being true. I don't think when you look at the last several matchups between the Bills and Patriots, like you said, kind of on paper, kind of looking at those results, it hasn't felt close. And I mean, maybe this time's different around, and maybe I'll eat my words. But I am expecting 27 to 13 Bills on Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, and there's definitely an argument to be made for that as well. Like I said, on paper, if these two teams come in and play the way they should and play the way they're trained to, then you probably are going to see a result very similar to that. With the Patriots' backs against the proverbial wall, my New England born and bred nature prevents me from being able to predict against them this time around. So I'm going to go with the Patriots winning a tight one here. I'm going to go with them winning 24-21. But again, this is going to be an emotional day, I think, for everybody involved. Definitely an emotional day in Buffalo, in Orchard Park, at Highmark Stadium. So, you pray for a great game from everybody. You pray for everyone to come through this healthy. But our thoughts, our prayers at Locked On Patriots continue and will remain as such for quite a long time. With DeMar Hamlin and his family. And I want to give a special thank you to some of your great listeners on Locked On Bills. I received a few very heartwarming messages from some of the Locked On Bills viewers and listeners about some of the words that I had for DeMar yesterday. I thank each and every one of you for that. That meant the world to me. It touched me very deeply. I just tried to speak from the heart, and that's exactly what I did. So there's no need to thank me for my sentiment. I lend my feelings, and I lend my support to all of you, and to tell you that I give you a tip of the cap because you're handling this with tremendous class and tremendous poise. So at the end of the day, that really is all that matters.
Turo is the world's largest car sharing marketplace. With Turo, you can book any car you want, wherever you want it, from a community of local hosts from across the US, UK, Canada, and Australia. Forget boring rental cars and find your drive at Turo.com. The Rams enter Week 18 with one goal in mind, playing spoilers to the Seattle Seahawks playoff plans. Baker Mayfield will also look to continue to showcase himself for offseason suitors as the 2022 NFL champs have nothing left to gain this season. Meanwhile, Geno Smith is looking to conclude his comeback campaign with a playoff run on his resume. The post-Russell Wilson era was not supposed to be this bright, at least not based on what NFL pundits said. Seattle will look to secure a win and carefully watch to see if Detroit helps them secure a wildcard spot by beating Green Bay on Sunday night. Travis Rogers from Locked On Rams and Corbin Smith from Locked On Seahawks have the coverage ahead of this matchup.
Let's talk keys to victory. As you've mentioned several times in this show, Travis, the Rams, they're down and out in the playoff hunt, but this is a team that has been playing better football as of late. They're a better football team with Baker Mayfield in their center than the one that John Wolford was quarterbacking when these teams met in early December. So they may have a fighter's chance to play spoiler. What do they need to do to go to Lumen Field and crush Seattle's playoff hopes?
I think they need to do the things that they've done in the two games that they've won with Baker Mayfield. And it is football 101, right? It is the things that every coach will tell you. It's the thing that every player will tell you after a win. They need to run the ball effectively and not turn it over. If they do those two things, they will win the game because Cam Akers has, like we just talked about, has kind of found his rhythm. He's kind of found his groove a little bit along the way. he's been very, very good. They have not turned the ball over. Baker Mayfield has been pretty good with protecting the football. Not perfect, but far better than what we saw with some other guys along the way. I think if they do those two things on that side of the ball, that's very good news. On the other side, and I think he's going to be just fine because he's a professional and he's a 6-time All-Pro for Bobby Wagner or whatever it might be, is just have him manage the early part of the game emotionally, right? Did not get so caught up in everything that's going on. And like you mentioned, I think that the reception for him will be incredibly warm. I think that it will be incredibly well-deserved and incredibly emotional for him. As we know, football is played on emotion. But finding that little rhythm, that little slot between being very elevated emotionally, but still doing your job, finding your assignments, doing these sorts of things, as opposed to just going out there and trying to make something happen because you're flying around with your hair on fire, I think is pretty important. The Rams secondary has still been very, very vulnerable. That needs to be a little bit better along the way. And I think that the Rams also, like we've mentioned before, have nothing to lose. I think they're going to be loose. I think they're going to be fun. I wouldn't be surprised if they break out some weird plays, something that just kind of gets you going for the last game of the season. I don't think that they're going to keep anything in the bag. I think whatever Sean McVay has, you're going to see it on Sunday. And I think that's the key. You got to connect on a couple of those. And I think they got a chance. They're not as good as the Seahawks, but sometimes in the NFL, that doesn't matter.
Yeah, and this has been a matchup that Sean McVay's teams have typically found ways to win. And so Seahawks fans, they're not going into this game believing that, we got this in the bag. The Rams have lost 11 games. No, the Rams have had worse teams than this that have come to Seattle, and they've given the Seahawks a fight, even in the Jeff Fisher era. Jeff Fisher, I think if he played just the Seahawks and Pete Carroll, he would have kept his job a lot longer because they always were much more competitive in those games. From Seattle's standpoint on offense, the run game went missing for about 6 weeks this year. And I think that's a big reason why they're in the position they're in now, where they need another team to help them out to get in the playoffs. I think the run game and the offensive line, those areas have been the biggest issues. The defense has had its problems, but they've been in position to win games, and the offense hasn't been able to come through, or they haven't been able to get enough protection, or the run blocking hasn't been good. I think against this Rams defense, especially without Aaron Donald and A'Shaun Robinson, some of the injuries that they've been dealing with for multiple weeks, this is a Rams front that you should be able to run the football against, especially at home. You've got a healthy Ken Walker III. DJ Dallas is back. This should be a defense that you can run the ball, you can control the clock some, and you can set up those play action shots, because the Rams have been vulnerable against those when the Seahawks have played them in the past. Russell Wilson couldn't take advantage of it, but Geno Smith had a great game last month off of play action, getting the ball downfield to his receivers. And as you mentioned, that Rams secondary has been vulnerable. Even Ramsey at times has been vulnerable this season. So if they can run the football effectively, they only had Ken Walker for a couple possessions in that first game, and then he exited with an ankle injury. Mm-hmm. Having him back out there as your workhorse with his ability to potentially hit home runs, control the clock, open up that play action game where you can get your talented skill players involved. If they can do that and just play their game with a balanced offense, they should be able to win this game, because they are the more talented football team, particularly with their offense going against a banged-up Rams defense. As far as the defense goes, you mentioned the key for me. Sometimes it gets cliche. Let's create turnovers or whatever. Yeah, it'd be great for the Seahawks to do that. But you have to be able to stop the window dressing that Sean McVay is going to be bringing to the game. And I don't know what it is. They run fly sweeps against the Seahawks, and it looks like they're playing against a Pee Wee League defense. And the Seahawks are good stopping jet sweeps pretty much against every other team they play, except Sean McVay. And I don't know what it is. And Rob Rang, my co-host, and I were joking about this the other day. I feel like you could just kind of put a water boy or something out there and run a jet sweep against the Seahawks with Sean McVay as the coordinator, and there would just magically be a parting of the seas. I mean, that's how it felt like. I mean, when Robert Woods was here, he killed them on those. They ran it some with Cooper Kupp, and that's not necessarily a strength for him, but he looked like a world-class track athlete running those plays. And Brandon Powell last time killed them on jet sweeps. They can't let little window dressings plays like that beat them. And that really boils down to the edge. And I think the one difference in this game from that matchup on December 4th, Bruce Irvin, great respect for him, but He was not at 35 years of age, and he was not a starter. He was not a 70% of the game or even 50% of the game snap count guy at this stage of his career. Boye Mafe, their second-round pick, is starting to see more playing time, and he has been nasty setting the edge. That is going to be the difference to me. If he's able to do that, limit those opportunities on those jet sweeps and take some of those plays off of it that Sean McVay likes to run against the Seahawks, especially without Jordan Brooks at linebacker. They're going to be playing Tanner Muse at that position in this game. You want to take some pressure off Tanner Muse with all those crossers that the Rams like to run, take away the jet sweeps, and really limit the plays they can run off of it. So that to me is a huge key in this game. Rather than looking at turnovers, the pass rush is important, obviously, but you have got to take away those specialty plays that Sean McVay has been able to give a chef's kiss with against the Seahawks pretty much every time they've played them.
Yeah, that play is a play that as a Rams person that you look at and go, not again. Not really? They're going to run it again? Really? And you mentioned all the guys that they've had success with it over the last few years, and they've added Tutu Atwell into the mix. I have the sets of players, that name I haven't mentioned so far today, but he has kind of taken over that role, and he can burn. He's incredibly fast. He's incredibly athletic. He's also incredibly small, and every time I see him run that play, you hold your breath and hope that he can get to the sideline or get down safely in one piece. But, yeah, I think you'll see it a lot. I think that the Rams are going to have their hands full, but I have a weird feeling that, like you've mentioned a handful of times, this is the proverbial good matchup for the Rams. For whatever reason, this is one that they seem to always have a pretty good grip on. They were playing their worst football of the year the last time that they saw each other, and they still nearly pulled one out. So I give the Rams a pretty good chance in this one.
Yeah, I expect it's going to be a barn burner. I think it's going to be a tight game, even with the injuries the Rams have. Bringing Baker Mayfield in is a huge difference maker. You have a competent starting caliber NFL quarterback, which you didn't have in John Wolford. And so I think that is going to make things interesting in the way Cam Akers is running the ball with the Seahawks issues they've had being well documented, defending the run. I think it is going to be a close game. This is not going to be when the Seahawks are going to go in and win by 30 points. They haven't been that kind of a team this year anyway. They've had a few wins that they won by 10 plus points, but this has not been a team that's been blowing people out. They're +3 in the point differential this year for a reason. This is truly a around 500 team, which is better than a lot of people thought they were going to be.
This is what the NFL is built for. Two teams from the same division with their playoff hopes on the line. Lions and Packers with high stakes Sunday night. Aaron Rodgers quietly suggested the season was not over as the Packers struggled to find their offensive rhythm. Meanwhile, the Lions under Dan Campbell needed to be a team of belief, especially as they saw the season open up with a 1-6 start. But the NFL is about staying the course, trusting in your teammates and coaches, and finding a way to be right here with a playoff berth in sight. Matt Derry from Locked On Lions joins Peter Bukowski from Locked On Packers to break down this NFC North season finale.
All right, Locked On Packers, Locked On Lions, Matt Derry, Peter Bukowski with you as we get set for Sunday night football. Matt, if you were going to boil this down to one thing, okay, the Lions win because. What is the because?
If they take care of the football and don't turn it over, and there's not a Goff fumble, and he's been good with it lately. He's been real good with the football lately, but kind of reared its ugly head in that Carolina loss when they were ready to go in and go up 14-7. He fumbled a snap from Ragnow. It was both their faults. But he's, other than that, for the past, 2 months, he's been really good with the football. Question is, under the lights, Sunday night, temperatures in the 20s, will he cough one up? Will he throw that pick that, we sit here on Monday and go, man, the Lions were the better team, but there was a costly interception or a fumble. I think it's the turnover battle. If the Lions win it, they can win this thing. What about for the Pack?
I mean, the irony of that is exactly what happened to Green Bay in the first game. They should have won that game. They outplayed down to down the Detroit Lions, and Aaron Rodgers could not stop throwing to the wrong team.
Yeah.
And that is not the narrative you expect in a Jared Goff, Aaron Rodgers game, but that's what we saw. So in light of that, my answer is red zone offense. Play and finish drives, because they went 0 for 4 in that first matchup, almost 400 yards of offense. In 8 drives where the Packers tried to score, Matt, they were in Lions territory on 7 of them and managed 9 points. That, like, you just aren't going to beat a lot of teams doing that. And so we've gotten this far and not talked about the home road splits. I actually want to ask you about that because I don't think this is going to be a game where you're going to see the Lions score 30. Maybe, but I think for the Packers, converting in the red zone is going to be the key, because I think they're going to have 3 or 4 good opportunities in the red zone to score. If you can get touchdowns, I think it's going to be hard for the Lions to match that. And that leads me into this question about the home road splits. I was looking at points per game. It's 2 touchdowns different.
I know.
2 touchdowns. They're the greatest show on turf at home, and they're the same old Detroit Lions on the road. What is the deal there?
I don't know. I wouldn't go that far, but I will say they just don't convert those third downs on the road. It seems like, if there's a 3rd and 4 or 3rd and 7, whatever it is in a passing situation at home, they always get it. At least this year, it's been amazing. Whether it's the tight ends, whether it's Chark, whether it's St. Brown, running backs out of the backfield, they've done it. On the road, it's a different story. They've had to settle for field goals or a Dan Campbell go for it situation. You go back a few weeks ago at the Giants road game, the Lions just pounded New York, especially on the ground. And I think they caught the Giants looking ahead to Dallas on Thanksgiving Day. Even when they won against the Jets on the road, the last road win, their offense wasn't great, but when they were inside the red zone, they got touchdowns. But you're right, it's a totally different story. I wouldn't say Goff sucks on the road or what, but the numbers aren't as good. It's just the bottom line is, you're in the dome and the comfortable settings. But I think the Lions are going to be okay. I think they're going to score, but like you said, they're not going to put up 40. No way.
So I'm thinking about this game. I think I'm in that 27-21 kind of. It's going to be a good game, a back and forth game. I think the Packers ultimately have enough offense against this version of the Lions defense, even though I do think this defense is improved. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to be very, very, very motivated to wash the taste of 3 interceptions in the red zone out of his mouth that he had from this first game. The ownage of the Lions has lessened over the last couple of years, right? This was like fait accompli when these two teams played, and it's not anymore. And I think, as his career winds down, he knows that this is the team that he's always made his mark against, because he's owned them and never said to the Bears fans or the Lions fans is that what he did to the Bears fans, I own you, but he has. And so I think this is the game where he puts his stamp on the season, ultimately gets them in. What say you? 4.5 points is the line at BetOnline.
Yeah, I think the Lions are going to cover. I think, I hate to be, on the fence guy and spineless, and I'm sure Lion fans are going to
be bold, Matt. Come on, do it. Pick the Lions.
I'm not. I'm going to take Green Bay, but I'm going to say this, and I warned my viewers and listeners on Sunday after the Bears win. I smell, and I know, and Packer fans are going to go, "Oh, here he goes." I think the officials are going to play a role. I do. Now, I'm not saying that the NFL's calling on the officials to fix the game for Rodgers so you get Aaron Rodgers into the playoffs. I'm saying I'm nervous about a James Houston coming around edge, smashing Rodgers, and they call it roughing the passer. And we all sit at home going, "Oh my God, roughing the passer again. Worst call ever. What, the NFL's got to fix roughing the passer." I smell it. I'm not saying it's going to be Trey Flowers blow to the head twice like a couple of years ago, but I got a weird feeling
about that.
Yeah. Lions outplayed him that day. So I think it could come down to something like that. And maybe it's a wussy sounding Lions host saying it, but I also think Mason Crosby, I'm concerned about Badgley in this game. And I wouldn't be as concerned about Crosby, who's made all those big kicks in that stadium. So I'll go 27-24 Green Bay.
Okay. That's a good number. By the way, Mason Crosby last week, I know he hit the crossbar, but the guy is 38 years old and set the Packers record for a kick at Lambeau Field. And to do it in late December, pretty remarkable. 55, 56 yards. That's pretty amazing. It never occurred to me, but this is obviously true. The Lions fans think of that game as the Trey Flowers game. Packers fans think about that as the Allen Lazard game.
Yeah.
And it's just funny how fan bases remember these things. I don't think that's crazy. The Packers against the Dolphins benefited from a roughing the passer call in that game in a crucial moment. They ended up scoring a touchdown, And that was the moment when you knew probably going to win this game. And it was that benefit of the doubt call that Aaron Rodgers got. Now, it was a good call in that situation. It was a dumb penalty to take in the situation. But this is when you have rookies and they're trying really hard to win games. A game can come down to that. I think I just have you have the gut feeling about the officials. I have this gut feeling Dan Campbell is going to go for a 4th down. He shouldn't.
and it's going to cost him.
It's going to be one of those like, okay, it's 4th and 2 from their own 33 and they feel like they have to do it because they're down 3 early, or it's 7-0 early and they feel like they got to go. And then all of a sudden it's 10-0, it's 14-0.
Right.
And the Lions, for all their explosiveness, they're built to play closer games because they need the play action, all that stuff. I think I could see that being the way that this sort of plays out. But again, I think this is going to be a back and forth, nip and tuck kind of game. I think it's going to be really fun. And I'm going to be live on YouTube after it to talk about all of it. So I'm really excited for this. And I'm glad to be here once again with you, Matt, to be doing this on a crossover Thursday.
32 teams, 8 divisions, 18 weeks later, the NFL season ends and the NFL playoffs begin. While many teams and players will be making off-season plans for the fortunate few, the focus now becomes the playoffs and a run to the championship. Each and every week, we'll continue to bring you all of the insight and analysis from across the Locked On Network. Thanks so much for joining us this week. I'm Jordan Black, and this has been NFL Key Predictions.